you ever been to a local council meeting and thought, why is nobody here our age? Or watched a decision get made about your village, a road, a school, a youth space, and wondered why young people were not even consulted? You are not alone. This video is about changing that. By the end, you will understand how governance systems function, where decisions are really made, what tools exist for youth participation, and why your presence is not just useful, but essential for democracy to work properly. Not as guests, not as decoration, but as real participants who shape decisions that affect your community.
Let's start with the reality. Rural areas in Europe face a specific democratic challenge. According to the Council of Europe, rural communities are experiencing demographic aging, youth outmigration, and a shrinking pool of decision-makers. In many municipalities, the average age of elected representatives is over 50. Young people aged 18 to 35 make up as little as 5 to 10% of local council members across Europe. These are not just statistics. They represent a real gap between the people who make decisions and the people who will live with those decisions the longest. Rural young people bring something no outside expert can replicate: territorial knowledge. You know what it is like to live without regular public transport. You know which services have disappeared. You know who is thinking about leaving and why. That knowledge is not just personal experience, it is evidence. And evidence, when communicated well, is one of the most powerful tools in democratic participation. When young people leave rural areas and are absent from governance, the average age of decision-makers rises. New ideas become rarer, and communities can get stuck. Youth participation in rural governance is not just about representing young people. It is about maintaining the democratic vitality, pluralism, and long-term sustainability of rural communities as a whole. When young people are absent, everyone loses something.
One of the most important things to understand is the gap between where decisions appear to happen and where power actually sits. Take a typical municipality. Elected representatives vote on key issues, but much of the groundwork, agenda setting, policy drafts, budget priorities happens earlier, in working groups, behind closed doors. The earlier you engage in a policy process, the more influence you can have. Once a decision is nearly made, it is much harder to change. So one key skill for governance participation is timing. There is good news. Many formal mechanisms already exist to support youth participation. Youth councils give young people a structured voice in local or national governance. Participatory budgeting allows residents, including young residents, to propose and vote on how a portion of the local budget is spent. Young people have used these tools to create youth spaces, repair sports facilities, and launch local digital infrastructure. Formal consultations are another entry point. Beyond formal mechanisms, informal participation also matters. Community campaigns, public meetings, social media advocacy, petitions, and direct contact with counselors are all legitimate and often effective ways to engage. The most effective participants combine both: formal channels to make ideas official and hard to ignore, informal channels to build momentum and public support.
Before we go further, it is worth pausing on a question that seems simple but is actually important. What does participation actually mean? The Council of Europe's European Charter on the Participation of Young People, a key policy document on this subject, defines it clearly. Participation means having the right, the means, the space, the opportunity, and, when needed, the support to engage in decisions and actions that shape your community. 5 things: right, means, space, opportunity, and support. Not 1 or 2, all 5. That matters because many participation processes offer some while quietly denying the rest. Young people may be given the right to speak, a seat at the table, a consultation, a door that is technically open, but they may not be given the means. No preparation, no clear information about what is being decided, no transport, no time off work or school. Or they may have means, but no space. The agenda is fixed. The real decisions were made earlier, and their role is to observe and approve. Or they may have space, but no real opportunity. Their input is noted, thanked, and never mentioned again. And without support from youth workers, organizations, or institutions that take participation seriously, many young people, especially in rural areas, are left to navigate a complex system alone. The right to participate means your involvement is formally recognized, not tolerated or improvised, but written into how an institution works, even when it is inconvenient. The means to participate means having what you need to show up and contribute: information, enough notice, access to the venue, and language that does not require a law degree. The space to participate means the decision is genuinely still open when you arrive, not finalized behind closed doors and presented for approval. Real space means your input can change something. The opportunity to participate means there is a clear, repeated pathway into the process, not a one-off invitation that never comes again. The seat is yours by design, not something you fight for every time. And support means you are not expected to navigate institutions alone. Youth workers, organizations, or informed peers can help you prepare, contribute, and follow up after the meeting ends. So when you enter a governance space as a young person, ask yourself, which of the 5 conditions are actually present? Is my right recognized? Do I have the means? Is there real space? Can my input influence the outcome? And is there support to help me participate effectively?
There is a useful framework that can help you think about where your community currently stands and where you want to get to. In 1992, researcher Roger Hart developed what he called the ladder of participation, a model with 8 rungs describing how young people can be involved in decisions that affect them. Hart defined participation as the process of sharing decisions which affect one's life and the life of the community. The bottom 3 rungs are not participation at all. They only look like participation from the outside. Manipulation is when adults use young people to support causes and pretend those causes came from youth. Decoration is when young people are used to bolster a cause without being involved. Tokenism is when young people appear to have a voice but have no real influence. Tokenism happens when institutions invite young people for appearances, not for input. Recognizing tokenism is realistic, not cynical. Naming it is itself a form of participation. Above these sit the genuine participation rungs, being assigned a role but properly informed, being consulted and taken seriously, sharing decisions with adults, initiating your own projects, and at the top, young people initiating projects and sharing decisions with adults as equals. Moving from non-participation to co-decision requires persistence, documentation, and a willingness to hold institutions accountable. Intergenerational collaboration is key. Older community members bring experience and networks. Young people bring fresh perspectives, digital literacy, and a stake in the long-term future. Imagine a rural municipality updating its 5-year development plan. Young people arrive at a consultation to find a room full of older residents and a draft plan that barely mentions youth. They organize, gather evidence, prepare a submission, meet with the deputy mayor, and follow up. Their ideas get added to the plan. A youth space gets funded. They join the monitoring committee. That is not decoration. That is not tokenism. That is shared decision making, and it started with the same consultation that could easily have ended at rung 2. The latter is not just a diagram, it is a direction of travel.
Let's look at a documented good practice. Ireland's Correlate na Nóg, which means Youth Council in Irish, operates in all 31 local authority areas of the country. It gives young people aged 12 to 17 a formal voice in local governance before they are old enough to vote. Each year, young people vote on the topics most important to them. Elected members work throughout the year with local councillors, agencies, and decision-makers to research issues, develop recommendations, and advocate for change. They meet decision-makers directly, present evidence, and follow up. What makes Correlate na Nóg especially relevant for rural communities is its structure. One representative from each local council feeds into the national body, the national executive, which connects local concerns to national policy and engages directly with government ministers in parliamentary committees. The key lesson? Young people participate more meaningfully when there is a permanent, funded, institutionally recognized space for them to do so, not just one-off consultations. The system links local concerns to national decisions and creates real accountability. Correlate na Nóg shows what is possible when young people are given real structures, real support, and real influence.
So, here is what we want you to take from this video. Governance is not a closed system designed to keep you out. It is an imperfect human system, and like any human system, it works better when more voices are part of it. Rural young people belong in that system, not as extras or symbols, but as real participants, with legitimate knowledge, legitimate interests, and a legitimate right to help shape their communities. You already understand things that matter. You know which roads feel unsafe after dark. You know when the bus comes too early or not at all. You know where young people gather, where they feel welcome, and where they feel forgotten. You know what opportunity looks like when it is close, and what it costs when it is far away. That knowledge is not small. It is local intelligence.
Here are 4 concrete actions you can take starting now. First, find out when your local municipality's next public meeting or consultation is scheduled and attended it, even just to listen. Showing up is how you learn the rhythm of decision-making, who speaks, who listens, and where influence actually happens. Second, look up whether your area has a youth council, youth advisory board, or participatory budgeting process. If it does, find out how to get involved. If it does not, that gap is an advocacy opportunity. Sometimes change begins with one simple question: why is there no youth voice here yet? Third, do not go alone if you do not have to. Bring a friend, talk with classmates, co-workers, neighbors, sports teams, youth groups, and community organizers. One voice matters, but a prepared group is harder to ignore. Fourth, before you speak, gather what you know. Take photos of a problem. Write down examples. Ask other young people what they need. Turn frustration into evidence and evidence into a clear request. You do not have to sound like a politician. You do not have to know every rule. You only have to be honest, respectful, and specific. Say what you see. Say who it affects. Say what could be better. In conclusion, don't forget that your community is not something that happens around you. It is something you can help shape, and the next decision may already be closer than you think. Democracy does not maintain itself. It is built and rebuilt by people who choose to participate consistently, respectfully, and with purpose. You can be one of those people, starting now. Thank you for watching.